Close to 1 year ago, I incorporated my first real business, and a few weeks ago it died. So let me take you through this journey real quick so you can save money, time, and a lot of trouble, I guess. But maybe it's also just interesting and entertaining to you. So the situation prior was I was having my Einzelunternehmen. In Germany, we have something that is basically just a single person doing business. And that's how I work with most of my clients. And that's what I still do to this day. I was working on a client project or like two friends of mine were consulting on a client project. And we had this idea of productizing this, right? So we reached out to friends and family, and fortunately, a ton of them have businesses themselves. So we got the same advice over and over and over again. And let me preface this with, this might be German coded or Germany coded, because here like credentials and signed documents mean quite a lot. But we basically got the advice to incorporate as a GmbH a ton of times. For you US people, that would be an LLC, and there's something really similar to that in most countries. So basically what it does is you have no personal liability, you have to put down some money in advance, and there comes a ton of organizational burden, like doing it changes how you do your taxes. And I don't want to get too much into the details and bore you with that. A ton of people recommended that to us, and companies wouldn't take us serious otherwise. And it's the only way to be professional, and you all know these phrases. And for us, it made sense at that point in time. So we started doing so. And at the beginning, it was just quite costly, right? You have to put 25K down. You can get around it a little bit by only putting half of it down. But basically, we started the process, and for every tiny little step, you have to go to a professional and get that signed. For example, you change something in the contract between the owners, you have to go to a notary. So there's a lot of organizational overhead. Long story short, what I really want to tell you is that in the future, I would always start simple. We had this assumption no one will work with us, or no like serious company will work with us if we don't have this company set up, which was completely false. If you're starting a business, you need referrals, and there are a ton of ways to get referrals. But basically, the thought of wanting to work with large companies, hence you need to incorporate, in my opinion, is a bit stupid. Because if you don't have these referrals yet, no large company will work for you. And the only companies that basically care about your business status are large companies. So focus on getting referrals first, potentially even work for free, before coping yourself into, I want to play in the big leagues, that's why I need it. So first, like really investigate your assumptions. Then second, we always had this idea that if we get a big company and there's a large contract, obviously they would want to work with a LLC, GmbH. In hindsight, these larger projects aren't done the contract isn't signed in a few days, right? So if someone approaches you with a large contract, let's say you have like 200, 300K volume, you will definitely have 2 to 3 weeks to incorporate when you need it, right? When you wait to pay yourself or even not pay yourself at the beginning of a business, there's often this time where you invest more and you invest time and you don't really want to take something out. That's not really possible, because you have to pay yourself a salary, and you also have to pay yourself a salary if for maybe some reason 1 or 2 months you don't get projects in or additional income. So long story short, there's a ton of organizational burden that comes with it. But then the largest issue that comes with it is that basically you're closer than being married with your business partners. So it's hard. It's actually way easier to get divorced than to split off a company entity. So the advice there would be always do projects with these people first before you start a company. And all I want to say is think deeply about it. Think if you really, really need it. And especially check if the assumptions about the situation you currently have are really holding. And I would always say start with something as simple as possible. You can upgrade later on, especially if like currently you can maybe even incorporate in a different country where it's better tax-wise, or maybe you move somewhere, or maybe it's better with a larger client to incorporate in the US if you have something like Stripe Atlas. You never really know, but if you start small and start with a really flexible company entity. And that's also what I've been going back to now. I'm taking on clients in my same Einzelunternehmen, small entity as previously as before. It's way easier, it's way simpler, and if you need it, you can always upgrade, right? So please learn from my mistakes, double check, and also potentially don't cheap out on a lawyer before incorporating. Maybe get like 2, 3, 4 hours with your lawyer or your tax advisor and talk through it before founding it, and don't be too cheap because you think, oh, I'm gonna pay so much anyways, I can read into that myself. I think there are intricacies you probably don't know about or aren't aware of. I hope this saves you some time, potentially money, or was at least entertaining. And yeah, talk to you in the next one. Oh, and I still have 2 slots for clients in the second quarter. So if you want to work with me, let me know.